Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing Taylor Swift's brand new surprise album, Folklore. Now, I did do a Taylor Swift series kind of at the beginning of quarantine, I think. And I vowed to myself that if the artist that I did a band series on made another album, then I would just do an album review for it because I'm not gonna rank every song. And with this album, I'm glad that that's the thing because these songs are too hard to rank. I absolutely love this album just so much. It honestly might be my favorite of hers just because it's that amazing. I love it. Now here's my track-by-track review of Folklore by Taylor Swift. First track is called The One. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Even though I did really like it, it just truly was not one of my favorites. I just kind of was like in the middle about it. By the way, if I say I didn't like a song as much as you did, that's no hate to you or Taylor. It just wasn't one of my favorites, because let's be real, they're all beautiful works of art and I love them so much, and it just works so well together. So anyway, just wanted to give that disclaimer. So The One, it was a beautiful song. I love it so much, but it was more poppy almost than the other parts of the album. It had a lot of country infusion, like back to her early Taylor Swift days. And the whole album did, and this one just was more poppy, so I think that's one of the reasons that I didn't like it as much, because it almost wasn't the same as the rest of the album. But anyway, it's a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next one on the album is called Cardigan. There's actually a video out for this one, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So Cardigan, the music video is just absolutely amazing. We're gonna get that out of the way before I flood this video with that. It was amazing, especially, considering it was made during quarantine, and that's just so cool. But anyway, Cardigan. The writing is impeccable on this entire album, but I think that Cardigan had, some of the best writing, out of all of the songs on this album, and, I loved it so much. I like how everything just came together, and I like how this album almost is kind of like a concept album, because it has, like, stories woven through every song, because, well, they're all ballads, but I love myself a Taylor Swift ballad, and everything was just so perfect and meshed together so well, and Cardigan was just one of the best in those. Next one on the album is called The Last Great American Dynasty, and I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This song wasn't for me as much as I hoped it would be, because I was like, that's such a cool title. I always have, like, oh, I'm gonna love this one so much kind of things when I'm listening to it. Even though they're all good, I just didn't like it as much as the other ones. But the writing just was amazing, as always. And I think that the music was actually very interesting, because it was all, like, slow, but also had some country woven through it, and it was very nice. Especially on this song, it was great. Next one is called, Exile, featuring Bon Iver. And I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This was one of my favorites on the entire album, because their vocals together worked absolutely so well, and it was just beautiful. To say the absolute least, it was just gorgeous. No pun intended. Anyway, if you didn't get that joke, I'm sorry. Exile was one of the greatest songs on this album by far. And again, the lyricism is just fantastic. The just vocals on this song especially are just gorgeous, beautiful. And I think that they need to collab again because it's just amazing how this song turned out, and I think it's amazing. I'm blown away by this song. Next one on this album is called My Tears Ricochet, and I also gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. This is probably my favorite on the entire album, because the writing on this song in particular just really stuck with me out of all of them on the album. And it was gorgeous. It was great. I need to find another adjective. Fantastic? Nice, okay. But I think that this one was probably my favorite on the album because it just is amazing. And, I think that it had a really good, music, instrumental, behind the vocals, and, it just is my favorite. The next one on this album is called Mirror Ball, and I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This one I also really did like a lot because it reminded me, this is what I was seeing in the comments a lot, and I'm like, wait, it does. It reminded me of, like, a school dance where you're standing, 6 feet apart just because middle school, high school, and it's just really awkward kind of thing, but then this song comes on and you're like, okay, this slow dance is about to be great, and it just reminded me of, a school dance, which is kind of hard to do, and I've never felt that with a song ever, and it's just amazing. I loved this song. Next one on the album is, called 7, and I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars, because this was probably one of my least favorites on the album. I know a lot of people did really like this one, but it just was not one of my favorites. It is very good. Again, the lyricism, the music, the vocals are always on point, but this one just was not one of my favorites, so that's why. Next one is called August, and I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This one, again, has some of the greatest writing on the album, in my opinion. All of this is in my opinion. But it just was amazing. I loved it so much. I think that, August and Betty, are supposed to, flow together, if I'm remembering correctly. But it just is fantastic, and I love it. I like what Taylor does with, the writing in a lot of these, songs is, bring stuff in from a different song, and I think that that's really cool because it really just shows the web, woven through in every song, so carefully crafted, and it's just great. Okay, next one's called This Is Me Trying, and this is, one of my least favorite tracks again, and I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It just wasn't for me. I know that this one is, they're all beautiful, but I know that this one in particular is some people's favorite, but it just was not for me, and all of them are really great, but they're, I think that it worked really well with the storyline. It just wasn't my favorite as, itself, almost. Everything was on point still. It wasn't anything she did, at all, because she's always just perfect, but, it just wasn't for me. Next one is called Illicit Affairs, and I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. This is another one of my favorites. I have a lot of favorites, as you may have noticed, but this one, I thought that the writing was really great, in particular, and I loved it, so much, and it was that's all I have to say for it, because I think the song speaks for itself, that kind of thing. Next one is called Invisible String, and I give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is a very good song, no doubt about it, but, it just wasn't for me, but I did really like it a lot, but it just was not one of my favorites. Not because of anything, it just wasn't, but it was great, but just wasn't for me. Next one is called Mad Woman, and it's, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This song was really great. I think this is the one out of all of them that I would probably put on a playlist and just jam to, because I love it just that much, and I think it's great, so, I really did actually like the instrumental and, the singing on this, but that's pretty much why I loved it that much, and I thought it was great. Next one is called Epiphany, and I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This is another one of my favorites, and I thought that this honestly made me think of, like, a dream sequence in a movie where you're like, in the clouds and just, like, looking at all of your, like, greatest desires in the entire world. That's what this song made me feel, and I absolutely loved it so much. It was great. The writing just, again, it made you feel like you were in a dream. You're like, this isn't happening, because it's just that good of a song. But I loved it. Anyway, next song on the album is called Betty, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This one had it, out of all of them, I think this is the greatest lyrically, even though it wasn't my favorite, because it just tells such a great story. It reminded me a lot of 15, but it's not 15, but it just was great. The writing was impeccable. I just don't think it was my favorite just because it was more country than I usually like for music, which, it's a stylistic choice, and it was great. Next one on the album is called Peace, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I, really enjoyed this one. Again, it's like a dream sequence. Well, the whole album is like a dream sequence, let's be real. But it's, this one lyrically and musically and vocally was just a masterpiece. I loved this song so much. And I thought it was great. Second to last song is called Hoax. This song I gave a 5 out of 5 stars because it was beautiful. It's one of my favorites on the entire album, and it's just amazing. I love this song. The writing, the vocals, the lyricism, I already said writing, but, the music, behind it is just impeccable. It's amazing, and that's why it's one of my favorites. Now, there was a bonus track, and it's called The Lakes. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, just because I thought it was amazing lyrically, but it just was not for me musically, at all, but, I did like it a lot. Anyway, that was my track review of Folklore by Taylor Swift. My favorites on the album were My Tears Ricochet, Exile, and Hoax. I'm picking 3, even though, let's be real, I love all of them equally. And then my least favorites are This Is Me Trying, 7, and Betty. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like Taylor Swift, which is probably why you're watching this video, give it a thumbs up. And subscribe if you just enjoyed my music content, because, that really helps out. And also, if you're wondering what I gave the whole album, I gave it a 9 out of 10 stars. And I will see you all Wednesday. Thank you very much for watching. I love you all, and bye.